Now, can you find it on face on because we're live now.
Yeah, we're live. We're live and in charge.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you, Rambling Canuck and Vance Major. We watched his movie Dead Inside on Tuesday, and now we're having him on.
To either tell us that we did a good job at reviewing his show or to yell at us for being complete idiots.
Well, after the devastating Paw Patrol news today, I think it's everything's a positive thing today. You can only go up from here. So
yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness, that's a whole nother show and a half.
That is.
No, it was for me. It's always a treat whenever somebody watches my films because who the fuck am I? So it's I'm flattered you guys watched it. I don't mind critiques, even on the even on nitpicky stuff. I don't mind it. So no, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you guys talk about it. So going back to it, if you guys jog my memory of what questions you guys had for me, and of what you guys what questions you guys had for me, and what nitpicks you guys had, and I'll kind of try to answer some of those things for it because I liked it. I enjoyed your review.
All right, so just because I have to be a smartass, why, Vance? Why? I thought we were buddies. Why is the last screen April 22nd before he goes dead air?
You're
Seriously, my birthday? Really?
It's a predestination paradox, and I knew that I would know you. So it was destiny, dude. It was destiny, So
I'm sorry, I just thought that was hilarious. Listen to the bottom corner. I'm like, April 26th. How rude! His last transmission's on my birthday. Seriously?
No. When I originally wrote the film. The dates are dates that meant something to somewhat of an ex-girlfriend of mine. Okay. Not really an ex-girlfriend, but somebody that I like. My wife and I were sort of split, and she was a best friend. And the dates that I picked out were intentional, and they were dates that were special to me and her, and okay. So so it was specific for me and her, so that's why I picked the dates that I did. So
okay, very interesting. Yeah, and then but no, I just thought that was actually comical that it was on my birthday that that he went everything went black.
Oh, absolutely. I thought it was a wonderful coincidence.
But as for the movie, I liked the part about it, and actually, Cap and I were talking afterwards. And was it meant to be shot? And we forgot to mention it in the review, but we talked about it later. Was it meant to be shot almost Blair Witch-esque?
Yeah, if I was making the film now, I would do it a little bit completely different, because I do know now how to kind of do like shadows for the background, or have maybe an editor do some shadows for the background. But this was the very first film that I had done. I think the only other thing I had done maybe was a Star Trek film called Pen Pals, which was very much a static sit there with stuff in the background, but it's pretty much you sit there and there's no real camera edits, there's no real anything. So this was the first time that I actually had done something that involved editing, which again is a very simple film. So it has that Blair Witch style because I didn't really know what I was doing. And in fact, if I was doing it now, I would just do my reactionary shots, and then you put the sound in later on in post. But since I didn't know what I was doing then, I had my computer sitting in front of me, and I was pressing play on the audio, and I was reacting to the sounds I was listening to on the computer.
Oh, very
Which,
cool.
yeah, because again, I didn't know then what I know now.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was very much in the early days of my filmmaking, because I didn't know what I know now. So you do see that those Blair Witch, very raw, very rough footage, and it's I wish I could have done something a little bit more, maybe a blood streak here, and a growl, or something where it's like you could have maybe hear some distance, and then you see that shadow. But it's simply, I just didn't know what I know now to accomplish those things. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
had a
for
very
me, the emotion came through.
Oh yes.
But what would have been nice would have been a little bit more backlight. Like, I know what you were going for, but at the time, like when I'm watching the movie and all I see is black screen, it's like, oh, that was one of my nitpicks, shall we say, from the review.
Now, I
Well,
will say another thing that we said was that it did have this Blair Witch vibe, but it was far superior on a far inferior budget.
It was not as corny.
Yeah, exactly.
well, the for the lighting and stuff, my wife has these candles that are like electronic candles, and I held that up to my face, and I really wanted the audience to be drawn into what I was saying, instead of like the zombies and the blood and the gore. And my mentality has always been, if you can tell a psychological thriller, and make people invested emotionally, then when something scary actually happens, then they're drawn in. And to me, I felt like it was more scary to have people's minds kind of, is there something in the dark, do I see something, like let their minds kind of wander and drift.
Wander, yeah.
Yeah, like in the movie Alien, if you had spent 30 minutes watching this big dangly creature chase them, and you see the full body shots, like that wouldn't have been scary. But the fact that you see a glimpse here and a quick cut here, and oh my God, is that something I see? Or the fact that you sit there for 15 seconds looking into the darkness, and your mind is like, what do I see? Is it there? Where is it? What am I? You get very tense, and you get kind of you kind of crutch down in your seat, like, oh my God, is it there? Is it going to get me? What is it? And that was kind of what I was trying to do, and that's why I didn't really mind the darkness per se. So it was kind of intentional, but maybe it went a little overboard in some spots. Again, part of that was,
I think it was more at the beginning. It was more at the beginning that before the candle was introduced. Once the candle was introduced, it's like, oh, okay, there you go. Now we've got, at least some visual. Because for me, I'm a lot of times, if I just hear it, it doesn't register, because I'm looking for the facial expression.
Right.
So once the candle was introduced, it was like, oh, okay, now I can get in. I can lose myself in this moment. I don't have to see 16 zombies bashing down a doorway, but
yeah,
I want to at least see the person who's talking.
Yeah, I intentionally didn't clean my den for like 6 months. I just kind of let shit fall where it may, and it looked great, and I have pictures of it, and I was like, man, this is going to look really awesome on camera. And then when you're going through it, and it just doesn't translate well to what was actually shot for the film. I wish I could go back. Like now I know exactly how to make it. Like I would have cracked the door slightly, so just a little bit of light had crept through. But again, I just didn't know then what I know now to accomplish those things. But I wish I could go back and redo that. But hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight's 2020. Yep. Absolutely. All right, Cap. What would you like to add?
Well, actually, I would like to ask if Vance would like to rewatch this, or if we just want to continue talking about it.
No, to me, I'm good with, I don't necessarily need to watch it. I mean, I've
Yeah,
seen the movie, ad nauseum. Any questions or thoughts more that you guys have is, I'm happy with whatever you guys want to, talk about with the film.
yeah. So, what was, I guess, what was the motivation behind, like, had you already done like a Star Trek film at this point, or was this kind of like the first fan filmish idea?
Well, I had done a few, Star Trek fan films, and I had posted ad nauseum for other people, and been I felt like I was kind of becoming known as the Star Trek fan film guy, and
Ah,
I kind of wanted to break away from that, the irony in that statement. um and so I was like, well, let me try something else, and let me do something that gives me a little bit of range. And I was really hurting emotionally about um, an ex of mine, because she was really my best friend, and um, I wanted to put into words how I was feeling, and I realized that a lot of writers, they just write what they know, and I thought, if I just put this to like a zombie type film about a dude who's kind of feeling the same way, it's a way to express how I'm feeling, but yet for a character, and it's a way to act, and plus, one of my friends was like, dude, I don't think you can cry. I'm like, no, I can cry. Dude, I can do this. It's doable. So
yes.
it was a way to see, do I have range as an actor, and can I write a story that I think there's something there? Because one of the things about a zombie film is, you don't have sympathy. You have some sympathetic characters, but you don't really get to explore that. So I felt that the feelings that I was feeling, and I couldn't really just express myself, I didn't feel, um and I just felt like the whole thing, I was like, there's potential here to tell some type of story. What is it? And so when I just sat down and started writing, it kind of just all kind of clicked together. And I felt that it was pretty decent. And that's kind of what I came up with. And then when I get to the next one, you start seeing the character kind of develop a little bit more, and then in the next one a little bit more. It's just kind of a twisted kind of character. But I did leave it. I did notice that you guys had mentioned you kind of wanted to know who he was talking to, and I left that
Yeah.
ambiguous intentionally, because I didn't want to put a stamp to say this is his wife or this is his girlfriend, or this is who it is specifically, because I really wanted anybody to watch this to be like, I see myself in this character. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
because I feel like characters that you instantly look at and are like, man, I relate to this. I feel like those are the best type of characters to watch. So
Yeah, and I think it's more just because of the horror film genre. You're used to that, you get that line at some point where, he screams out for that person, whether it's his mother or his ex-girlfriend or his wife or his kids or whoever it is. Once he hits that rock bottom and then goes below rock bottom, you get that final plea, and then that's it,
right. And
right?
that's, yeah, I really wanted us to kind of take that trip with somebody who's going down the mouth of madness with, and I wanted the audience to take that trip with him, and again, I really wanted to kind of express my range, to see, okay, do I have any range as an actor, and how can I push myself, and that's one of the things as an actor that I like to do now, is go to those dark places, or sometimes those happy places, and you have to get those emotions, and this film, especially, is the genesis of what I have to do to go to those great lengths to pull out performances. I just didn't know it at the time, but that's one of the things that I have to do to get there. Is the stuff that I've gone through. It helps make me a better performer. So.
Okay. And just quickly, I'm going to go through the chat for you, Cap. There, Mr. Lindell, Groovy Movies is in here. Sir Spade Sam is in. Jedi Bill, welcome. Aberjam UK, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, we're probably not going to get to the chat too much, but if you do have a question, please do pop it in the chat and we'll try to get to it. So, Cap, I've been kind of rambling here for a while, so I'll let you go for a little bit.
Well, that is your name.
Yeah.
So, well, let me ask this. What was, for you, Vance, what was the fun part of making that movie?
Not playing Eric Menard. Because at the time I really was feeling trapped and wanting to do something else besides Star Trek and not wanting to put on the uniform. Now I tend to look at the Star Trek as fun and hey, I can play the Phantom, I can play Eric Menard, the captain, I can play Eric Menard, the engineer, I can play the Avalon universe Eric Menard. Like now I've completely changed how, what I play when I play Eric Menard, but at the time I was just the engineer of the Valiant, and I felt that is kind of restricting. This is before I actually made all of my what they've dubbed the Menard saga. So I really was starting to feel kind of like trapped playing that character, and it was starting to be kind of a negative. So for me, the fun part was just doing something completely different and stepping outside that box that I felt like I had kind of been trapped into. Star Trek to me wasn't fun any longer. So to me, it was fun to do something and then say, okay, I've done this, I've accomplished it. Now what next? Because I think after this was when I started doing my superhero film or vigilante film called Pursuit. And that was just as much fun. And then I did those two films, and I think I was when I went back to Star Trek and continued working on those things, because I never wanted to fully walk away from it, but I certainly wanted to step out and do other things. And I have. But the funnest thing was stepping out and doing something else besides what I had been put into that box of. So
right, and it's nice to see that you have done other things other than the Star Trek fan films, which you are so well known for.
Yeah.
Was there at the time when you came up with this? Was there any real fan? I guess the fans going, well, what the hell is this? Where's my Menard? Did you get any of that?
No, because there wasn't. When at the time there was I had only played him like maybe I think 3 times officially on screen, and then there were 2 times behind the scenes that were still waiting for stuff. So from the fans' perspective, it's only you've only done it 3 times. But from my perspective, it's like I've played this character for like 3 years or 4 years. No, I think like 3 years at the time. But I had dedicated months and months and months on end for a part, rehearsing and doing stuff. So from the audience perspective, you've only done it 3 times. From my perspective, it's I've dedicated a very long time to do this. It's so it's very daunting for me.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of perspective in that regard. So there wasn't kind of a call to like it is now, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to step away. Where you hear like my good friend Trey was like, oh, you can't walk away from fan films. From their perspective, that hadn't been a thing because you've only done it 3 times. Whereas now I have 79 films just of my own, and then several other cameos.
No, not allowed against our religion. Sorry, no.
Right. Right.
It's okay. It's a religion. I'm sorry. Permission denied.
If I see one of those like stained glass windows where I'm in these toga robes, like nah, I'm backing off slowly. I'm good.
I'll just be over here with the pizza roll. Well, I'll talk to y'all later.
Right, exactly.
And I still say Menard and his counter, just to get into that for a little bit, just for a joke, is I still say that your evil doppelganger, Menard's doppelganger, is when he doesn't get his pizza. His pizza. When he doesn't get his pizza, he turns into the Phantom, and when he has his pizza, but he's good.
That's when he needs. I swear, if they ever want to do a commercial for those Totino's pizza rolls, that's when we need the two Menards. That would be the ultimate
Snickers.
fan
Snickers
film.
Could do it. You're not you when you're hungry.
Okay, here's a question.
Sure.
Do you think that the Phantom would like the pizza rolls?
The Phantom's when you try to give him fucking broccoli or some shit, and he's like, man, what? And he stabs you. He don't play that shit. He don't. Nah.
Yeah. No. Does this body say I go to the gym every week?
Right.
Yeah. So now you've kind of touched on a little bit, but if you had to pick 3 things in this movie that you would do differently now, knowing what you know now, what would be the 3 major, I guess, aesthetic things you would do differently?
I would light the room up so that you could actually see the mess that he's into, so that me, not cleaning my den for 6 months actually pays off, instead of because my wife was yelling at me for like 6 months, clean up your den, damn it, so that it was actually worth not cleaning it instead of me just being a slob. So that's one. 2, have a shadow here and there, because it would have been so easy to do that in the background of a window or something, to just make it look like something's going on, because that would have gone, that would have been huge for this type of film, especially given the fact that I'm just sitting there with a candle, and the lights are kind of flickering a little bit with the electronic candle. And 3, I probably would have, at the end, right before the light goes out, I probably would have looked up or something, and you would have been able to see just a little bite, so that you would have seen, oh shit, this dude's bit.
Okay.
And then have him be like, I miss you. So then this dude's a goner. Yeah. Now, granted, there wouldn't have been another next film. I would have missed out on me doing other zombie films for myself. But I kind of wanted to do, thinking about that, I think it would be honestly kind of cool to tell a film from a zombie's perspective. I think that would be kind of fun. So maybe, who knows what comes up, in another film.
To add to that, I mean, the next film could have been his slow acceptance of the fact that he's going to turn.
There you go.
I can fight this. I'm going to fix this. I'm not going to turn. I'm not going to turn. For her, I'm not going to turn. And that's the whole movie. And then at the end, he finally turns. And then your film 3 is...
Yeah, it's like going...
a zombie.
And that would... Yeah, and see, that could have been something too. See, I need to hire you on as a writer.
Oh, hell. I have bad grammar. You don't want my writing.
But see, that's the thing. Like I would have done something again. Like I was so focused on telling a different story that I didn't have perspective like I do now. Like now I kind of tend to take, once I write something, I take a step back and I'm like, okay, let me let this breathe and let me let this simmer, and then I'll come back to this and I'll think about it. Whereas back then, as soon as I wrote it, I was like, okay, I gotta go film. and to me it was like crack. You know, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. You know, I was so excited because I'd never done anything like this before, and it was such an overwhelming sense of, you know, I got to make another film. I want to. I got to prove myself. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things I would do differently. Um, you know, it doesn't make it a bad film or just anything drastically different. Just subtle changes like that. So
Well, I think actually, as a creator, if you can't go back and go, I would do that different, I would do that different, and I never will do that again. Um, then you're really never growing ever, because then you're
right,
just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and there's no growth. There's no, because if you can go back and you can look at something you did a year ago and it's exactly the same as what you're doing now, why are you still doing it?
well, and that's exactly it. Like you can't sit there and say every film I've made is always perfect and there's nothing like, there are people who have tens of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars that make films that are like, man, if I had only had a little bit more time or a little bit more money, I could have done this shot, or I could have done this differently, or I could have got this if I only had gotten this angle, or if I'd only and the thing is, like, even the best of films, man, if I had only changed this performance, or if I'd gotten this performance out of this person, it could have change the outcome of this. It's no film is perfect, and I for my films, I'm far from perfect, but I love making films, even if it's just to learn something about myself, and self-expression. Again, making films from all the Star Trek films I've made to these films, all of them are personal expression. And I've always said that my Star Trek films are not necessarily Star Trek films. They're just films that happen to take place in that universe. You could take them out of out of that universe and put them in a different universe, and the story still holds up. And that's what's good about the stories in general. And I feel like this story is the same way. Like take the zombies out of the equation, and this is just a dude that's sitting in his room that's venting on YouTube about,
Yeah,
man, I broke up with my girl, like I'm such a piece of shit. This is no different than that. I mean, the same story element is like, man, I messed up.
yeah,
I screwed up and I don't know how to deal with this, and I'm sorry. And
I,
that's all this is.
yeah. I'm sorry, and I can't go out there like this. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no going back, and I don't know how to deal. Yeah, and that's all this is. So I really would encourage anybody who wants to make a film, find a story that applies for what you're trying to get out, from an emotional standpoint, and then write. And even if it's not the greatest visually, just do it, and have a bad looking film, but one that people can connect with, and then just slowly advance and slowly keep going. And, even if you got a collection of bad films visually, at least you've been able to express yourself, and eventually you'll have a whole bunch of people that can help you with your game. And, at least you had a good time. And how's that a bad thing?
Oh, I agree. I'm just glad to hear that obviously you had a good time making it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did it help get out those feelings that you were having at the time?
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, anyone that knows me knows I love my wife. I love my kid. I wouldn't trade either one of them for anything. This the the thing with my when you have friendships with people that there's no closure, and you can't get that closure ever due to whatever circumstances and whatnot. And that's a tragedy of the situation. Like, I wish there could have been, and like I wish her nothing but the best. But for me, it's like, there's no going back. For her, obviously, there's no going back.
Right.
But it's like, I kind of, for me, like, this is the healthiest way I know to get out my frustration or the feelings or whatever. And it's like some people sit there and Facebook stalk, or they'll go out and 20 million phone calls, or they'll go out and park outside someone's place of work. It's like, I don't want to do that. I'll just make a film that I made a really cool zombie film, and then I had two spin-off zombie films. It's like, it's a healthy way of expression that got out my expression, and I got to create my range as an actor. Like, it's healthy ways of expression. So yeah, I feel like I was able to put what I couldn't get for closure, I was able to put that towards something else. And I grew as a person, and I wouldn't change anything about my life. And it just helped put things in perspective, so.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about, after making the movie, after, you've been getting reaction to it? Is there anything else you'd like to add to this discussion?
Again, hearkening back to anybody that wants to make a film or is curious, especially with today's technology of cell phones, with the cameras they have, editing technology being so easily, you can grab any type of app to edit. Go make a film, and have a couple of bad films to get to a decent one. Everybody has an idea for a film and they think it's so easy. And for all those millions of ideas, very few actually get made.
Yeah.
And it's the best form of expression to be like, I had this idea for a character because I was going through a bad time, and damn it, this helped 20 people get through their problems too. And man, because it was so relatable. For the Menard character, and this harkens back to a Star Trek fan film, but this is the reason why I continue to make films. Menard loses his wife in that film, and not to spoil the story for anybody, but he loses his wife in that film. And to me, this was the origin story of Menard. And I got a comment from a gentleman who was watching the Menard films, but he cared so much about that story in particular that he reached out to me. And he had lost his wife of, I think it was 30 years, he said. He had lost his wife the year before, and he was trying to come to terms with her death, and he wasn't able to until he watched that film. And he was like, to me, that's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, you get a review like that, and to hell with all the other people who say, that's not very good. I have this, so you're all screwed.
And that's exactly it. And that's exactly it. So those people that sit there and they, they'll ridicule because, that Starfleet officer's wearing sneakers, or that camera is too dark, it doesn't have this, or that techno babble doesn't make sense, or this, isn't the, that guy's kind of fat for this role, or that guy, it's like, go make your films, because you never know who's watching, whose life you might affect. And if I had
remember, sorry, Vance, this should make you laugh. And just remember, if you really get on Vance's nerves, all you got to do to find out how much you got on their nerves is look for the next red shirt that has your characteristics.
There you go. There you go.
So, knowing that you have made most of yours on a cell phone, are there any particular apps that you would recommend people try?
No, I all I do honestly is I have a bunch of good friends that do the editing for me. Mm-hmm. I send, like, I record on my cell phone, and then I send everything to Google Drive, and then they edit the things for me and send it back. So I don't, all that stuff is Greek to me. I don't know anything. I'm still just as clueless as I was, years ago when I made this film. I've just got better technology than I did then. So no, I don't. I just, whenever I go get a new cell phone, I just ask, hey, what, which ones are the best cameras? Show me the top 2 cameras in the cell phones. And then they show me the top 2. I look at them and I'm like, all right, what's the memory capacity? And I look at those and I'm like, I kind of decide those are the 2 deciding factors. Because I go through a lot of memory because I record an awful lot. And then as soon as I record, I ship it off to Google Drive. I think I got 100 gig on my Google Drive, and it fills up pretty quick. So thankfully my editors download pretty quick. But no, I'm very simple, and I let my editors handle all that. So that's a question that's better left for them. So
good to hear. Anything else you wanted to ask, Rambling?
I think more. If you were to step away from the Star Trek genre now, like just for like a film or two, what genres interest you now? Would you go like you did then over to like the horror film genre kind of esque, or what genre would you go? I've never dipped my foot in there.
Well, I somewhat am, even though I still have my foot, like I still have one foot still in the Star Trek world because I have obligations. But I am in an Orville fan production that we're working on called A Planetary Step. And so I am a reoccurring character on that. I play the Admiral for that. I got to name the character, so I was like, Admiral Menard. So they're like, okay. The only thing is I have to comb my hair different. I'm like, oh, but I don't really have hair. So I was, oh, okay. So sadly, you get to see my wonderful baldness in that series. But I play the Admiral on the Orville fan series. And then I will be doing a Ghostbusters fan film at some point. But then I am doing with Victoria Fox, once the sky stops falling, I will be doing my own anthology series because I do have a bunch of short stories that I've written, which are kind of Twilight Zone-esque, creepy little short stories. And when I sent her off the film, she was like, "Oh my God, these are good. We've got to make these." So I was like, "Oh, awesome. Okay, then I guess we will." So I have several other genres that I will be working with, not just Star Trek. So may take me a little bit to get there because on top of all that, I still have the 70 hours at work that I work, and then full-time dad, which takes top priority over any film. And then I've got the show with you two gentlemen that I hang out with, for our reviews. So I do keep quite busy. So
yes, and we definitely thank you for putting up with
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys keep me sane on my Saturday nights, and I get to hang out. So I love it.
Yeah, well, to kind of wrap this up on a lighthearted, stupid moment, we might have to actually quickly switch over in our Netflix and start reviewing the Paw Patrol before they take it off the air.
I was about to say we might need to do Paw Patrol, right?
Before another cartoon is lost to the echoes of time because reasons and people are stupid.
Right.
So, Cap, I'll let you wind this one up, and I threw those links out for Jedi Bill. So,
thank you. I appreciate that. No, I'd like to thank you again for coming on, Vance. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It's nice to hear your perspective on things because we can watch these and we don't necessarily know what you're thinking, what was going on at the time, but it's nice to have that insight after we've watched it. And I just want to thank you for being willing to come on and talk about it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Like, I mean, honestly, the fact that you guys, I enjoy both your perspectives. And like I said, the criticalness, like I up until you guys had said, hey, even without the candle, it was kind of dark in places. That if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have even remembered. Oh yeah, the den. The den was a complete like I hadn't even remembered that. Like, I mean, I love being called out on my on my stuff because it's like nobody's a perfect filmmaker, and I hate that some people think that I've never made a mistake, everything I do is great. Like, I don't like that. I love the fact that you guys, when I talk to you both, like, you guys are so down to earth, and you guys, it's just like talking with your buddy while you're eating a burger. Like, it's just like, what's up, man? So what'd you do this for? Like, I love that. So the fact that you guys are willing to take time out of your day and review my stuff, when I think I've only got like what, a couple hundred views on the video, if that. It's like, again, who am I? So thank you guys, because I'm flattered that you guys did it. So I'll always come back, I'll always talk to you guys, and the fact that you guys want to pick my brain, man, what's left of it, oh man, bless your hearts.
and just remember, folks, in closing, somebody's really pissing you off at work, don't hit them and get fired. Just make them a villain in your film and kill them off there. You heard it here with Vance.
Yep, that's what I do. That's exactly what I quote them specifically, and then yep, get them like a fish. That's exactly it.
Just remember, if somebody pisses you off, don't do it in real life. Just make a film where they die horribly.
Exactly.
Oh my! And on that note, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So, is there anything else you'd like to add, Vance?
Nope, I think we're good, and I look forward to the next review you guys got on Tuesday. Is it? I think.
Yes, It is.
All right, awesome. All right, well, you guys have a good night, and everybody who came by, thanks very much.
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody who came in the chat. I appreciate everyone coming. And if you would be so kind, please leave a like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Anything else you'd like to add, Rambling?
No. Take her easy, folks, and hope to see you guys here next week when we release a few more good stuff, and we get Cap out talking, and I drag him out, drag him out to the public more.
Thank you all again for coming.